What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA Ep.6, kicking off, still maintaining that 5th season as we get into week number 4, and got 8 great games in this episode. Should be a good one here, man. So make sure you go ahead and smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And we'll go ahead and dive right into it. First game of the day, we have Tennessee Tech going on the road to take on one of the best teams in the country in the top 10. It's Texas Southern. But Texas Southern, they are not going to get off to a good start here as Marcus Bell, he's going to get his first interception of this game as Adam Mayhew, what he tried to do was throw that ball up into coverage. But it is going to be intercepted though as we'll get into double coverage, and you just absolutely hate to see that at the end of the day. So Tennessee Tech, they will take over with a chance to take the lead here, and they drive all the way down to the 37-yard line, and that ball is going to be thrown up into the air, and that is going to be caught. Touchdown Tennessee Tech, as the Golden Eagles get one up on the scoreboard in order to get things going. So Texas Southern finds itself down 10-0 as the Tigers try to get themselves on the scoreboard before halftime, as Adam Mayhew will be brought down in the open field. That's a nice run for someone who is a very mobile quarterback as well. And it's going to be a goal line situation inside the 10-yard line to try and close out the end of the first half. Mayhew, he's going to run for the end zone, and he's going to get the end zone as well. Touchdown Texas Southern. And the Tigers will pull to just within a field goal as we jump into the second half of action. Been a low-scoring game to start out this episode, as we'll see some throws over the right-hand side. How about that spin move? I didn't realize we were going to the laundromat, because that was a heck of a spin cycle right there. Boom! Hit him with that spin cycle, baby. And Tennessee Tech will drive in the red zone. They've been solid on the red zone opportunities today, looking to get it into the end zone, and they will. A touchdown for the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles makes it a 17-7 lead, and it's been a good football game for this Tennessee Tech squad, who finds itself outside the top 25, not even receiving votes. They are ranked in the top 35 in the entire country. But man, they are putting up a great performance as Kevin Rowan, he's going to get his 3rd interception of his collegiate career, as Adam Mayhew just feeling that pressure, being forced to throw that football a little bit more than maybe what we are accustomed to seeing. And now Texas Southern really with its back against the wall. 3rd and 10 from the 32-yard line. Drops back. It's going to try to face some pressure. And it's going to be brought down into the backfield, as is Texas Southern Tigers. They had to punt the football away. And that's going to wrap things up. Texas Southern losing their very first game of the season. They lose to Tennessee Tech 17-7. It was an impressive defensive performance here for the Golden Eagles. And we will see what happens to this Tennessee Tech squad with the start that they've been having so far. I would be hard-pressed to believe that they find a way to not be in that AP top 25. Because I'll tell you what, this is a really impressive win. This is a really impressive win, especially winning that turnover battle 2-0 for Tennessee Tech. And they also won the time possession. But now we go into some conference action, as this is the first week that we start to see some conference games starting to pop up throughout the FCS. And we got Youngstown State, who's off to a 2-0 start themselves. They'll be taking on another top 10 ranked team. That is Tennessee Martin. They are number 8 in the country. And Tennessee Martin, they were the darlings of the FCS back in season number 4. This Tennessee Martin squad, they are the type of team that, you know, they made a deep run somehow. That's based off of Donnie Jacobs, who's having another good year so far. 572 yards, 5 touchdown passes. But this Youngstown State squad, they're off to a good start as well, and they are led by their quarterback, Osiah Jackson Jr. We'll see if he can create some fireworks to get things started, as Jackson Jr. is going to throw over to the left-hand side. Finds his receiver, is going to find the end zone as well, and that will be a touchdown for the Penguins of Youngstown State. As that was a nice back shoulder fade by Osiah Jackson Jr. Put it in a spot to where his receiver could make a play, and only him. So a 7-0 lead for Youngstown State. In the second quarter, though, we will go ahead and see Donnie Jacobs throw his very first interception of the season. You know, it was going to happen at some point, just overthrew his guy. And you simply cannot overthrow you guy like that. So that provides an extra chance for the Youngstown State Penguins as they'll start their drive at about the 30-yard line off the interception. But Osiah Jackson's going to get his. He throws his football, and they're actually going to call this a backwards pass. Yeah, you saw that correctly. A backwards pass that Tennessee Martin will recover on their own as well. So Tennessee Martin, they will use that opportunity, get a field goal on the board, and it will cut to a 4-point game. As later on in the game, we will see Youngstown State diving into the bag of trips a little bit, as Cody Douglas, he's going to throw a pass, and that pass gets completed and goes for a really big gain, a 41-yard reception. And now Youngstown State with a chance to strike. Got to get into the end zone, but it's picked off. It's picked off in the end zone. Yet another costly turnover there for Osiah Jackson Jr. as Osiah Jackson throws it up into a place where there are 4-5 defenders, and just, you simply can't do that, man. You hate to see it. As now we will go ahead and see the Skyhawks. Can they take the lead with the last 2 minutes here of the first half, as Donnie Jacobs will complete this pass out into the flat? Just, a receiver that was, coming in the block at first, released late. It makes a good route off of that pass. And now sitting at about midfield as Donnie Jacobs lines up in the shotgun formation. He drops back. He's got some time to work with. He wants it all. He's going for the end zone. It is caught. It is actually caught, and it will be caught for a touchdown. And the Skyhawks with a 51-yard touchdown reception. Tennessee Martin, they are going to take the lead, as that was a bomb down the right field. And we will see the Skyhawks take a 10-7 lead, but just like what we saw in that first game, it's a very competitive game. It's a very low-scoring game that we've seen so far. We'll see if the scoring picks up here in the second half, as Osiah Jackson, he wants to take a shot too, and he will complete the shot right down the middle of the field. Huge gain for the Penguins of Youngstown State. And we'll see if there's a penalty on this, because sometimes when you see that particular animation celebration, we do see a penalty happen, but we don't get that penalty there. Beautiful throw over the top. And now Penguins with a chance to take the lead. First and goal from the 3-yard line. Fires and finds his man in the end zone. Touchdown, Penguins. And Osiah Jackson Jr. throws a beautiful touchdown ball, making it 14-10. As now their Penguins have the lead with a chance to take down the number 10 team in the country. You absolutely love to see it. And Osiah Jackson, he's trying to keep it up. Give credit to his receiver, though, going back to his quarterback when he was facing some pressure. Can he keep that going here on a third down? They've been pretty good on third down conversions today. Does that keep going? 5 for 9 so far. As Jackson, he's feeling himself. Got that takeover badge turned on, and he finds his receiver. In he goes into the end zone. Touchdown, Penguins. That's another one up on the scoreboard, as that is 21-10. Osiah Jackson Jr. He will put up some points up on the board. And now it's an 11-point game. As now we will go ahead and see some work from Tennessee Martin here. How about this right here? Sidestepping his way into the end zone, as beautiful throw down the sideline, able to come down and make the catch. And Youngstown State, they cannot do anything about it. It's back to being a pretty close game, as we will go ahead and see David Wilson come into the game, because Osiah Jackson Jr. gets shaken up, and just trusting the running back to hold on to the football. We do not see that. As a matter of fact, So Tennessee Martin, they run it all the way back into the end zone, and that's how they take the lead back late in the third quarter, and they just never look back. It was a close game. It was a costly affair for both teams, but Tennessee Martin, they will survive. They should remain in the top 10, but keep an eye out for this Youngstown State squad. They did some great things on the field today. Really can't be mad at it whatsoever. And they even outgained Tennessee Martin. That's the craziest thing in all of this. Just those turnovers at the end really cost them in the second half. So now we go ahead and watch a game that I'm pretty excited to watch about. This is a game that is on regional television and was picked by your channel members. So, if you want to have direct input on what games are watched within the FCS Dynasty, highly recommend checking out that channel membership program. But either way, we got a great game on our hands. We got Eastern Washington. They just made their first FCS playoff appearance last year, and then they take on Grambling State. And that Grambling State squad, led by Ray Waddle, freshman All-American last year, one of the best young quarterbacks that we have in the FCS Dynasty. But not a lot of talk from the offense to get things going, as Carl Johnson Fousen, he hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, done a good job taking care of the football so far. His receiver, not so much. Grambling State, they're going to recover that fumble, and that will end up being recovered. So Grambling State, they got a chance to take the lead here as Ray Waddle looks to his right. He's going to have some time in the pocket, throws across his body, and it's going to be caught. Does he get into the end zone? And he does not. Jordan Davis, though, makes the grab as he throws. Hey, Ray Waddle trusting his receivers, man. Really having that big Brock Purdy energy, as Grambling State will end up finishing the drive. And that will be a touchdown for the Tigers, as Grambling State, they will take a 7-3 lead. We'll jump to later in the first quarter. Coming off of that touchdown, they got their first lead of the game. How does Eastern Washington respond? Got a pretty good kickoff right here. Get it into the hands of your tailback. The tailback, he's got a wide open hole down the sideline, and he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Eastern Washington. And it certainly did not take very long, but we do now see the Eastern Washington Eagles back ahead. Cut forward to the second half, and again, another low-scoring first half, 13-10 being your score, as Tony Barrett's going to take the handoff, makes a couple of people miss, and gets all the way inside the 25-yard line. That's actually going to bring his yards per carry average up to over 5 yards a carry. He got that big run that he was looking for. We'll see if they go back to him as they go speed option. Over to the left-hand side, Tony Barrett, he's got the handoff, makes a man miss. He's in the open field, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Eastern Washington. And the Eagles get another one up on the scoreboard. And how about Tony Barrett, able to make things happen in the open field, making multiple guys miss. He was watching some Braxton Miller highlights. But Ray Waddle gets hurt in this game. Ray Waddle does end up getting hurt. So the transfer from North Dakota, Octavian Cater, he's the backup quarterback. He steps in, trying to keep his team in this game on the road against a top 25 squad. And Bryce Perkins, he's just going to pounce on that chance. We don't know how long Ray Waddle will be out, but what I do know is that Grambling State, they're not nearly as much of a threat when Octavian Cater is on the field. So now Eastern Washington will take over. Third and long from the 33-yard line, no, but got plenty of time, though, and Carl Johnson Fousen places it right on the money, and that's going to be a touchdown for the Eagles. That's another one for Carl Joseph Fousen. Just really staring down the barrel of the gun and able to get that in. So now, 2nd and 3 coming up. Johnson's going to try to run it right up the middle of the field, but Chase Hooper going to light this man up like a Christmas tree. And they're going to have to run it back for another 3rd down conversion. Play action. Johnson wants the end zone. Going to find the end zone as well. That's a touchdown for the Eagles. And this crowd is absolutely going wild right now. You absolutely love to see it, especially because they don't get games like this very often. Johnson Fousen, has been known to make some mistakes at the quarterback position, but right now it's been a pretty clean game, and that clean game is going to keep happening as we now will see KJT with 250 yards passing. Jumping into the fourth quarter of action, though, Tony Barrett's going to take the handoff. He's going to find his way down the sideline. Got some space in the open field and finds the end zone yet again. Another touchdown. The custom bean Emerson simply cannot catch up. The sophomore just getting burnt in the open field. As that wraps up this game, and to wrap up this early action here, 47-10 is what Eastern Washington wins as they solidify themselves as a top 25 football team. And now we'll go into the studio real fast for our first studio update of week number 4. But we take a quick break from the gameplay in order to provide our very first studio update of this episode. We'll start with some of the noon games, and Troy blows the doors off of William & Mary as the Troy Trojans win their first game of the season, beating the Tribe 47-17. As for those Maine Black Bears, they got themselves into the top 25, but that's not going to last very long though. They lose to Delaware State in conference play as the Hornets beat Maine 29-24 on the road. As for the Southern Jaguars, they're going to be able to bounce back, as Jay Sean would always say. Southern beats St. Thomas on the road 28-7 in order to get to 2-1. San Diego State as well takes care of business against Stephen F. Austin in non-conference play, beating the Lumberjacks 27-17 to remain undefeated on the regular season. We also see Sacramento State play extremely well against UNLV on the road as the Hornets sting the Rebels 33-7. That being said, South Carolina State continues to look pretty good throughout the course of this season. They beat Jacksonville State this time 30-7 to get a 2-game winning streak going. But we do also get a really big shock in SEC conference play as Southeastern loses to Wofford as the Terriers pull off the top 25 upset, Wofford winning 35-25. Meanwhile, Northern Iowa continues to be a sneaky team to watch out for to get their first FCS playoff appearance, as Northern Iowa beat South Dakota in conference play 45-15 in an absolute blowout. So we get out of our first studio update of this episode as we check in on a couple of teams that we did not have the opportunity to go ahead and watch so far this season. We got Southeast Missouri State coming in number 14 in the season. A little bit of a slow start though. They did lose to UNLV, and they will take on a Montana team that certainly does not have as much hype as they did at this point last year. This Montana squad, number 50 in the country according to their national rank. So Montana, a lot of work that they need to do. They need this win if they want to be relevant for the FCS playoff hunt, and this will help them, picking off Travis Johnson. That is Ryan Manning, who will be getting his very first interception of the entire season so far, as Travis Johnson, he faced some significant pressure, and that forced him to throw a bad pass. But we cut towards the very end of the first half. Still no score, as Travis Johnson's going to try to send this thing, try to get some points up on the board, but that will also ended up being picked off as well. Seth Carell, he'll get his first interception of the season too, as that will indeed take us into halftime, and still no score. There is still no score in this game. These are two programs that have been historically known for being really fantastic in terms of being phenomenal on defense, but offensively, I guess inconsistency is the nicest way to put it. But finally in the second half, we do see some points getting scored on the scoreboard, as that is Travis Johnson. He's going to put a dime out there, really shaking off those two interceptions that he threw earlier in the game, and able to take that into the end zone. 7-0 will be your score. And now Southeast Missouri State, they have the lead. How will Montana respond? Jamison Skinner, he drops back. He's looking for his chance to kind of contribute, and this is a way to contribute to this game. as Jamison Skinner throws it up, let his player make a play. And that is certainly what we saw there. Just really mossing Kentrill, one of your guys' customs. You hate to see it. And it's back to being a tie ball game. 7 apiece now. Johnson throws to the right-hand side, but it's going to be fumbled onto the ground. And now Montana, they're running away with the football. Is this a big guy's touchdown? And yes, it is. We will see the big guy get into the end zone, and that is a touchdown for the Montana Grizzlies, as this is how they take the lead. Just a little play out in the flat, trying to get that receiver out into space. Kind of forgot that football in the process, though. And now trying to put some toppings on top of the cake, as that is going to be Mario Matthews, the former #1 running back coming out of high school. Gets that short rushing touchdown to end this game, and Montana will end up pulling the upset on the #14 team in the nation, Southeast Missouri State. But some alarm bells going off for the Red Hawks of SEMO. Just 1-2 to start the season, and they're going to go into Big Ten play and Big Ten Conference play. New look Big Ten Conference, I should say. It's a good conference. It is a very competitive conference. Saw quite a few teams make the playoffs last year. So Southeast Missouri State, they're going to have their work cut out for them if they want to get back to the playoffs. So we see Montana go 2-1 and pull off the upset. But now we got our first top 25 matchup in this episode, as we will go ahead and check out Nicholls State, who they're riding a high right now. They just took down number 11 Eastern Kentucky on the road. And now it's their time to shine right now, as we'll go ahead and see them take on another top 10 team, the Akron Zips, in Akron. And it's a rainy day in Akron. Could be a good day to run the football. Does benefit Nicholls State, but Steve Spurlock never got the message, though, as he'll try to run out. Danny Daniels is going to bring him down for a sack, and that's a great start for a Colonel's defense that's, towards the back end, ranked outside of the top 90 in the FBS in terms of actually trying to stop the football in terms of yards per game. And you can see why, giving up a lot of plays on the back end. That's going to be a first down for the Akron Zips there, as now with 3:21 left to play in the first quarter, we see Akron under serious threat to go ahead and get the first points up on the scoreboard. Still, first drive of the game, and Steve Spurlock's going to hand it off to the tailback. Tailback's going to try to run a little bit of an option, and Akron's going to find the end zone that way. That's going to be a touchdown for the Akron Zips as they take a 7-0 lead. Later on in the game, we jump early second quarter as Frederick McNair trying to hand the football off to his fellow custom Deuce Randolph, but Deuce Randolph puts the football on the ground. He puts that football on the ground. Sadly, as Allen is able to get that loose. And now Akron takes over with a chance to make this a 2-score game. Play action. Spurlock all the time. Fires downfield. He's got a guy, and he's going to find this guy in the end zone. Touchdown, Akron. And the Zips are zipping past Nicholls State right now, as they are looking shell-shocked here on this rainy night in Northeast Ohio. Late in the second quarter, though, Steve Spurlock can add on to his lead even further, but Nicholls State is going to get the interception. Johnston Henry, second interception of the season. That's good for third place in, the SEC conference, the new look SEC conference. And that's what they needed in the worst way, as Nicholls State haven't scored yet, and they haven't been the best with their red zone opportunities. Just 66% in terms of coming away with points. It's been a sloppy year, as Frignair's trying to set up the screenplay to Deuce Randolph, but Deuce Randolph can't corral it in. He drops that one again. Really hoping that's not blamed on Frederick McNair. He threw it where it needed to be thrown. Don't get me wrong, but 14-0 being your lead, you hate to see it. And you would think that Akron would be a little bit more conservative, but that's not what happens here. That's not what we end up seeing. They try to throw the football yet again. Steve Spurlock does end up getting intercepted a second time, mind you, and it cuts it back to a 1-score game. So we'll see if this inspires Nicholls State to take better care of the football. But Frederick McNair puts the ball on the ground too. And this one is going to be even more devastating than the 2 previous fumbles, as that is going to be taken up and it's going to be ran all the way back to the crib. And that's a touchdown for the Akron Zips, as this linebacker was gone like a girl in a country song, able to find his way into the end zone. We're now looking at a 21-7 lead. As a couple of drives later, Steve Spurlock, he's going to fire over the middle. How about this for a diving grab? Even with pressure in his face, able to deliver a ball just accurate enough to get out of the outstretched arms of that DB. Is now Spurlock driving downfield, finds his receiver for yet another touchdown, and the Akron Zips pulling away even more, making it 28-7. But this Nicholls team is going to go down without a fight as we get to a 4th and goal inside 3 minutes. And we will see Frederick McNair make the handoff up the middle, as 7 is going to get the touchdown, get that 2-point conversion. So that does put Nicholls State at 3 for 3 on the day, but what they really needed towards the end was some stops. They needed to find a way to stop this offense, and they just couldn't do it. You know, that vulnerable secondary of theirs really reared its ugly head, and unless Frederick McNair can pull a miracle, it's not looking good. As Frederick McNair will drop back the pass, is going to throw over the right-hand side. He does find one of his receivers, who goes all the way into the end zone. So that's a touchdown for Frederick McNair. You know, throwing one right on the money, but it's just a little too late. I mean, this is a beautiful throw and all. You love to see it, but Akron is still going to win this football game 35-21. That will be your final score. But, you know, I'm looking at this game, and, you know, Nicholls State, they had to go on the road for the 2nd time in a row. You know, they just played an Eastern Kentucky team. They also played this Akron squad that, you know, could make a deeper playoff run. You never know what could happen. I mean, there's a lot of football left to play. I still think, even with this loss, Nicholls State is a top 25 team, but we'll see what the AP pollsters say when we do get out of this episode and we get towards the end here. So the last game of the 6 o'clock games, we got Georgia Southern taking on the Citadel to get started with conference play. But this Georgia Southern team, they are going to be a little bit light at the running back position. Jeff Boston is out with an injury, and then Josephine Krakowski, he is also injured as well. So, you know, a lot on the shoulders of David Benson. We'll see if we can see the Citadel capitalize on that and get a big-time upset, as the Citadel is 0-4, forces this Georgia Southern squad. And going deep into the depth chart, Justin Simmons will be the feature back for Georgia Southern. We'll see how they employ him. They're going to start, though, by throwing the football up into the air, and it does end up getting caught. I think that's what they're going to have to do a little bit more of. They don't have the most mobile of quarterbacks, to put it lightly. This is not a mobile quarterback. This is not an Ikeda Woods. He's more of a traditional passer, but you can see the kind of windows he can throw through. Like, he can make some things happen if you give him the chance to throw the football, and that's certainly what we saw there, as Aaron Smith just climbs the ladder, makes that catch, and that's how we get our first touchdown of the game. Georgia Southern, early on at the very least, with a 7-0 lead. Later on in the first quarter, we see the Citadel with a 10-0 deficit now, and this was the problem for the Citadel. You know, there's been times when they're able to at least contain this Georgia Southern offense, the option attack that they have, but, you know, we're not really, you know, seeing that in terms of, you know, they always struggle on the offensive end. I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest, but I do know that the Citadel will get Georgia Southern off the field at least once, able to recover a fumble there. This looks like the fullback just straight up drops the ball. Just, you know, a little bit confusing to see that, but I am not confused to see the Citadel offense go to work, as beautifully thrown ball, a little bit of a hesitation that has it creating some space in the open field. So the Citadel is in across midfield, trying to drive deeper down the field, looking over the right-hand side, and that's just a beautifully thrown football over the outstretched arms of Marquise Lewis, who really tried to come down and make a play on that ball, but, just simply not tall enough. You hate to see it. So, Citadel, they do cut this down to at least just a field goal. But now we start to see Georgia Southern really wear teams down. They don't have the explosive plays like they have this year so far, or at least in previous seasons, but they're still able to march down the field with some consistency, able to really tire you out. And Justin Simmons, this third-string running back going into the season, he's going to have his name called upon with the injuries of Jeff Boston and Joseph Krakowski, and he's going to get into the end zone. That is a touchdown for the Georgia Southern Eagles, as they're now looking at a much bigger lead here. But Citadel not going down without a fight as Scott Dixon, he throws one right on the money. Red zone opportunity coming up for the Citadel Bulldogs. You love to see it, as it's going to be 2nd and goal from the 7-yard line. Dixon throws to the right-hand side, finds his receiver, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Citadel. And the Bulldogs, they're hanging around, just down by a field goal. Second half, David Benson looking to find the end zone himself. And, man, David Benson, he's not a fast man at all. But, hey, he's a willing runner, though. You can't ask for much more out of a pocket passer quarterback. In an option system, he's at least looking like he's know what he's doing. 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line. Benson pitches it out to Simmons, and Simmons fights his way into the end zone, and that is a touchdown for the Bulldogs, as that will get it back to a 2-score game. 24-14 will be your score, as I really think quarterbacks, in these option offenses, you gotta count some assists like in basketball, because that touchdown was set up by David Benson there. And in the second half, it was all Georgia Southern here. Another touchdown by Simmons makes it 31-14. And then after a 3-and-out by the Citadel, Georgia Southern, they drive all the way down the football field again for a second time, trying to run some of this clock out. We'll see who Georgia Southern gets the football. Looks like it's going to be a David Benson touchdown, and it will be. David Benson finds the end zone there too. 38-14. That will indeed be your final score. So, a little bit of an upset alert after the first half. This was a very close game, but this is what Georgia Southern does. Even though, like I said, don't have those explosive plays like we've seen in, years 1 through 4. They are the defending national champions for a reason. I really think of this the actual Georgia football team in terms of his Georgia Southern squad, had some hiccups along the way before being a national champion. We'll see if Georgia Southern can do the same thing so that they can go ahead and repeat. So we take a quick break from the action to take another look at some other scores around the FCS, and we'll start with number 5 James Madison. They took on Delaware in conference play, and the Dukes continue to roll, winning 44-24 as they get the 3-0 on the season. As for other games on the FCS Dynasty to watch out for, Sam Houston State also got them biscuits out because they're on a roll as well. The Bearcats of Sam Houston State beat Harvard 56-20. As for Chattanooga, they were put on the brink by Eastern Carolina, but the Mocs still pulled it out. They went 44-38 in overtime to also remain undefeated. As for Eastern Kentucky, they had a slow start to the season, but might start to find a little bit of a groove now as they beat the Townsend Tigers 42-13 for their 2nd win of the year. And of course, you want to talk about rock bottom. Northeastern might have just hit that. They just went 0-3 on the season, and they lost to another winless team 41-3 as UCF gets their first win here in season number 5. So that takes us into the FCS game of the week as we have another top 25 matchup. This one almost being a top 10 matchup. Almost. But Arkansas Pine Bluff, they are ranked number 11 in the country. And they are taking on the number 1 team in the land, the New Hampshire Wildcats, led by their sophomore quarterback, Bruno Baggio. And we know what it is. Bruno Baggio, he is certified him, as Lee Corso will go ahead and make his pick. And he's going to pick the New Hampshire Wildcats to win this football game. We'll see if that comes into fruition or not. But Bruno Baggio is going to fire down the left-hand side. It's going to be picked off. He's going to throw his second interception of the season. And Chase Alford coming out here and getting an interception. And listen, Arkansas Pine Bluff, they had some doubters in the comment section. People are asking, how is this team ranked as high as number 11? We're about to find out the good old-fashioned way. As we'll go ahead and see if his tailback run the football. It looks like, does it get picked up? Who picks it up? It's New Hampshire that picks it up. That is tough to see. Paul Joseph Forte, I think, had to carry there. As their original running back did end up moving on to the NFL, and as Tavita Bean that knocked that ball loose. So New Hampshire has the ball back once again. Still no score in the first quarter as Bruno Baggio fires down the left-hand side and throws a dime down the sideline, and it's caught. First down for the New Hampshire Wildcats, as that will get a score up on the board. As I'll bring up to the 27-yard line, trying to finish the drive off. Bruno Baggio throws it up in the coverage, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, New Hampshire, as Bruno Baggio throws touchdown number 5 here on the season. Just a beautifully thrown football there, and you love to see that. As now 7-0 being your score at the moment, as we're looking down the left-hand side. He fires, and we get the response from Niall Matthews in the play action, throwing on the run and just throwing it to a perfect spot. We got ourselves a really competitive football game right now. Matter of fact, Arkansas Pine Bluff a chance to take the lead, and they do. Arkansas Pine Bluff on the road, going up north, all the way up to New Hampshire. And this number 11 squad, people didn't think they'll be number 11 in the country. They should not be. Now they have the lead. Late in the third quarter, though, Bruno Baggio, he's going to get into his bag, finds his receiver, and is able to gash wide open the defense of the Arkansas Pine Bluff secondary. Just a wide open hole in the zone. We'll see if they continue to attack that zone. 1st and 10 off the big play. Baggio throws again. This one over the middle and just using his speed. And that's going to be another touchdown for New Hampshire Wildcats. That makes it their lead restored, as after the extra point is go back to a field goal lead. But look at this throw by Bruno Baggio. On the run again. Finds his receiver in the secondary. Able to make a play on the football as Arkansas Pine Bluff goes free and out. So Bruno Baggio going back to work and just continuing to throw dimes all over this football field. I am absolutely shocked. I am flabbergasted. And that's just a case of a linebacker being lined up against a wide receiver. And I like Smash Woods at the linebacker position. I really do. And speaking of Smash Woods, he's going to ultimately get his revenge. Gets the interception, as we do see Bruno Baggio trying to target Ernie Little. Running back on a linebacker is not a bad idea either. Just that time around, Smash Wood with a great anticipation. But Arkansas Pine Bluff cannot score on their next drive. So still a field goal game. And, the arm talent of Bruno Baggio is really something else. Just the fact that he's getting hit as hard as he's getting hit, and he's still, for the most part, getting into his receivers, just shows the elite arm level talent that he has. And now we're going to see some Ernie Little. Ernie Little, someone that has been sitting on the bench for a little bit. He now comes in to his true freshman year, actually. Haven't really seen him much in the season so far, but, he's really starting to come into his own now. And so is the rest of his team. 4th and 17. Chase Jones just gets his first sack of the entire season so far. 4th down, and you know what? They're going to grow some cojones. They're going for it out of their own end zone. Dropping back, Matthews fires to the right-hand side. It's caught, and now it's a foot race down the sideline, and it's caught. Touchdown, Arkansas Pine Bluff. And how about the bravery by Niall Matthews? Saw that the pocket was collapsing, but continues to stay vigilant And it was a great effort by Arkansas Pine Bluff, but they will end up falling short though. New Hampshire does win by a final score of 27-21. These are two teams that will be the FCS playoffs this year. Mark it down. We know about New Hampshire. Arkansas Pine Bluff, they still haven't broken through that barrier yet, but this Pine Bluff team, man, I'll tell you what, this is a legit squad. This is more about them than New Hampshire, who just went toe-to-toe with the #1 team in the nation. And to have our final gameplay of this episode, we will wrap things up in the new look SEC conference. We will go ahead and check in on the Furman Paladins, who signed that really talented recruiting class back in, I believe it was the season 3 offseason. You know, Braylon Davis, Kyler Williams. They also recently brought in Derwin James III. You know, there's some talented players on this Furman squad, but, you know, Furman, they haven't seen it turn into fruition yet in terms of winning on the field. And, you know, they're going to have a challenge on their hands, taking on the number 15 team in the nation, Northwestern State. Also looking to make their very first FCS playoff appearance as well. One of the better teams in the FCS that has not made the playoffs yet, but they had a down year back in season number 4. They're going to look to change that narrative, though, and it starts with giving Bo Arias the football. He is a wrecking ball. You know, you wouldn't think that he is, you know, this Marshawn Lynch kind of runner, you know, with that single-digit number. Looks like he's built like a speed running back. No, he can lay some people out, too. Like, don't let that be mistaken by any means. But Furman, they're going to show some fight here, too, as Love is going to enjoy this throw down the right-hand side, as that will time this football game up. But this one being the Bo Arias show. I mean, look at this effort by Bo Arias. Good God. Even if this is not a touchdown, that is such an incredibly impressive run. Look at where Bo Arias was. He was stopped on the line of scrimmage. Furman played that perfectly, except the tackling. They never actually brought him down, and the whistles never were heard, you know, and that's why you got to play until you hear that whistle. So instead of seeing maybe a Northwestern State punt after that, we now see Bo Arias get a second rushing touchdown of the game. It's been a great performance for him so far. Furman, they're going to have to put up some points on the board if they want to win this game. And they're trying to get creative, doing a halfback pass over the right-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted. Down the sideline, it's going to be dropped at the 40-yard line as Isaac Rice is going to get his first interception of the season. Trying to flex on him, and the home crowd, they absolutely love it. And they're going to use that interception to try to drive all the way into the end zone. But Bo Arias trying to get the hat trick in the first half. This time getting lit up like a Christmas tree. We'll see if they go back to him on a 3rd and goal from the 3. Bo Arias with the handoff. Breaks the tackle. He's in the end zone. And that is a touchdown for the Demons. And Bo Arias, what is there left to be said? He's on demon time right now. That's his 3rd rushing touchdown of the day. And we're still in the first half. We're still in the first half of this game. That's the wild part, but don't sleep on Jeremiah Hodivo, or at least this Northwestern State passing game, as we'll see some passing touchdowns here too, as Northwestern State extends that lead further, 31-7. Just absolute domination on both sides of the football. As we jump into the second half of action, Lewis is going to drop back the pass again, looking to the left-hand side and finding Aiden Rose, the tight end for this Northwestern State squad. Someone that kind of has fallen into the background a little bit. He had a really good freshman year, but, you know, hasn't lived up to his freshman year ever since. He will at least find the end zone there. This is a 38-7 lead. It's a slaughter that we got going on right now. As now another drive for Northwestern State after yet another Furman 3 and out, as that'll be another drive finished up by Bo Arias. 45-7 will end up being your final, not your final score, but, you know, it certainly seems like Northwestern State, if they don't lose it, if they don't win this game, if they find a way to blow it, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, right? So 45-7 is your score. Furman trying to really get anything going, but Matthews Grave is going to welcome him onto the ground. And it's just been that kind of day today. That's the 3rd sack that Northwestern State was able to get here as that will force the Furman Paladins once again to punt this football away, which, you know, the difference between them and Arkansas Pine Bluff, you know, Pine Bluff had those 4th and longs in their own territory. You know, they still, you know, went for it. You know, where's the cojones for the Furman Paladins? And it shows in the score as Northwestern State, they handled their business with ease, winning 62-7. Bo Arias is your player of the game with 5 touchdowns. But before we go ahead and see what happens with any adjustments to the top 25, Heisman race, or even the player of the week, let's go and see what's going on with the final games, these 8 o'clock games that we didn't get a chance to watch. One of those games was North Dakota State as they played against Mid-Tennessee State Blue Raiders, and the Bison will come out on top, 21-7 being your final score. That being said, Eastern Illinois played their very first game of the entire season. They took on the Raging Cajuns of UL Lafayette, and Eastern Illinois comes out on top on the road, winning 35-30. That being said, we do have an upset on our hands. Well, not an upset, but a blowout. Utah State blows the doors off of UMKC 45-14 in order to get to 2-1 on the year. As for Portland State, they get their very first win of the entire season as they beat the San Jose State Spartans 38-21 in non-conference play. And now we'll go ahead and see what that Sports Illustrated magazine cover, what's that going to be looking like. So we check in on the new Sports Illustrated cover as we're getting close to, you know, reaching that end of the 4th week, and a lot of love for James Madison and what they're doing out there as they try to get back to the national championship game. So we'll go ahead and check out that Sports Illustrated magazine, what we got going on. We'll go ahead and start with the top 25 polls, and we're looking at this top 25 polls, nothing really changing at the top. Your top 7 or 8 teams completely the same, ain't nothing changing. But after number 8, we do have a little bit of changes. We got Akron moving up 1 spot. Sacramento State moves up a couple of spots after their big win over UNLV. We also see Chattanooga, after they survive overtime against Eastern Carolina, they move up a couple of spots as well. In addition, Northwestern State, really impressive win against the Furman Paladins, 62-7. As I told you guys earlier, was your final score. You know, they move up a few spots as well. Eastern Illinois moves up 4 spots, even though they just played 1 game and took on a Raging Cajuns team that has not been in the playoffs yet. Arkansas Pine Bluff, their close loss doesn't hurt them too much. They just fall 3 spots to number 14 in the country. Portland State moves up 1 spot. Southern moves up a couple of spots after a 3-touchdown win over the St. Thomas Tommies. Texas Southern, though, they had one of the biggest drops of the week while remaining in the top 25 as their loss to Tennessee Tech drops them 8 spots to number 17 in the country. And then, of course, rounding out your top 25, we got Eastern Kentucky, who moves up 1 spot. South Carolina State moves up a couple of spots after a 23-point win over Jacksonville State. Northern Arizona was on bye, but still moves up a few spots, as does Eastern Washington. They essentially had a bye week as well with the way that they handled Grambling State. Finally, rounding out your group is Sanford, who's back in the AP top 25. Kent State is in the top 25 as well. But one team that is barely hanging on is Southeast Missouri State, number 24 in the country. They're at 1-2, the only team under 500 that is still in the AP top 25, and then Weber State is in here at number 25 in the country. Teams that are also receiving votes is Nicholls State, who is one of 3 teams that fell out of the AP poll, but also receiving votes as well is Western Kentucky, Tennessee Tech, and we also have Tennessee State in there. So the entire state of Tennessee, in terms of its football prowess, is doing a pretty good job. So we saw Stephen Terry as well on the Heisman watch, you know, at least in that Sports Illustrated cover, and for a really good reason. Great performance against Delaware. He had 450 yards and 4 touchdowns, and really just having a breakout year. First year as starting quarterback for the Dukes, 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns already in the early going. Has only thrown 1 interception as well, just really a breakout campaign for him. But also keep an eye out for junior wide receiver Eric Washington. He was really a huge presence for the Devils of Northwestern State, as we saw them with 240 all-purpose yards and a couple of touchdowns during gameplay when it actually didn't matter. Seven Robinson is still in there as well, and he put up a good performance against the University of Omaha, I believe that's what it is, UNO. He had 6 touchdown passes, but fell a couple spots in spite of that. And then rounding out their group, we do have one of your guys' customs, Brad Odrauzy, who does have a bigger role with the leaving of David Thorne and Jody Gentry, who is another one of your customs. And in 5th place, we got the senior quarterback, Corey Hall. He was 24 for 40, 283 yards, and 4 touchdown passes. And Sacramento State, they're off to a pretty good start as well, as we do see this quarterback with 12 touchdown passes already on the season. So that does take us into the end of week number 4, and we're already closing in on about 1/3 of the way through this season as of right now. It's been fun. It's been fun to watch things go down, and next episode, we will have our first check-in in season number 5 in terms of what those conference standings are going to be looking like as we are moving in through a third of the way through the season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and if you did, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.